ParentMD. Today, excited to have with us Alex Seibert, who is our Chief Marketing Officer for ParentMD. We're going to do it a little differently today.
Yes,
We're going to turn the tables. Alex is going to interview me. I really don't know the questions that she's going to ask, so this is truly not rehearsed. But she wanted to spend time to kind of talk about the founder story, how we came to be where we are, our journey, and the vision of where we're going. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex, and she's going to take over.
Yeah. So, I needed to turn the tables on you today because I can't tell you how many times I've heard you tell a story to one or two people, and they sort of change their whole perspective about things. And so I think that the whole world needs to hear it. And there's been a few outlets where you've had the opportunity to tell people, but I think that really recording this and sort of putting it in stone, like, why are you doing what you're doing, and why did we start here, and what are you trying to solve for? I think people will want to hear that.
Yeah,
and
then
I
appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I have some rapid fire questions so that people can learn a little bit more about you, what your tastes are, what your preferences are. So that'll be fun.
All right, well, that's good.
I think I know the answers to most of them, but we'll see. Okay, so my first question is, I think first you should do, like, what's your background? Why did you go into pediatrics? How did you become a doctor? I know sort of the progression of,
Right.
where you started, where you went to school, but I think it'd be good for the record to just sort of get sort of the resume part of that out of there.
Well, I'm a Kentuckian, never have left Kentucky. Born and raised in Bowling Green, so grew up in a little place called Richardsville. So it was a rural community, actually, where my father grew up, and my mother grew up 40 miles from there. So I grew up in a rural environment. My father's in the oil business, so I grew up working with him in the oil fields, and we had a small farm component to it also. With that, went to Warren East for high school, and then went to Western Kentucky University for college.
Hilltoppers.
Yeah, I was a hilltopper. So did that in 1990, 94, and during that time I got my degree in biology and chemistry, which was what you classically did when you're in the pre-med route. So about the end of high school, I decided I wanted to go into medicine. And it was more of a default because, thought it'd be neat to be a doctor, but it was more that it fit what I've been doing, science, biology, and chemistry. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, it was more of a bit of a default pathway. I didn't know what else I wanted to do, so I thought, well, I'll check that out. When I was in college, I became a phlebotomist at our local hospital, one of the two local hospitals at Greenview Hospital in Bowling Green.
This is going to be really naive of me, but this is
phlebotomist.
what I'm here for.
Yeah,
What's a phlebotomist?
That's a phlebotomist. Phlebotomist is someone who draws blood.
Oh, okay.
So I worked in the lab and would draw blood, and I went at 7P to 7A Saturday and Sunday nights for 1 year, my third year of college, and then the next year I did that a couple other nights. And so did that while I worked at a little lumber yard there called Hill Motley. So did a little manual labor while I did that, and worked with my father in the oil fields, and then would do the phlebotomy at night while I was getting my pre-med work done. So I really realized then I liked the healthcare setting. I liked helping people. I loved applying the application of the science to medicine and people at the bedside. And there's probably nothing better to do before med school than going around a hospital and drawing blood, because you got to be in the ER, the operating rooms where they're delivering babies, and the newborn nursery, ICU, routine, and you got to learn how the lab worked, which is really the heart of healthcare is blood tests and other tests and pathology and everything else. So it's a great experience. So I went from there. Then I came up to Louisville. A couple reasons. I wanted to go to U of L. My wife was also from Louisville. We just got married right before Louisville. So came up here for medical school in 94 and did that from 94 to 98. Initially, I thought I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon because of a great mentor in Bowling Green, John Birch. Went to church with him. Great mentor. Did work with Craig Roberts, who just retired from being the chair of orthopedic surgery. And he just came in as a fellow when I started medical school. And so out of fellowship, I should say. And I worked with him in research. For a couple of years, I was doing research with him and thought I wanted to do orthopedics. I shifted in my third year medical school when I had just, in my second rotation, done pediatrics. Had a phenomenal mentor, Dr. Denise Bratcher, an infectious disease doctor in Kansas City. And she She was the most approachable doctor I thought I met my third year.
Mm.
She was very relatable.
Mhm.
She treated the students like people.
Mm.
And I was inspired to be a pediatrician because of her. That same month, it was just a precursor to us having our first one, who's now 25 years old, Jordan.
Mhm.
But he was born a couple months later. And so the timing of his birth, that rotation
Made it
just
really
did a
real.
shift. And so for the rest of the year, I had a real struggle, orthopedic surgery or
Mhm.
pediatrics.
Mhm.
Um, and I was already going down this other path, but then at the end of the year, I decided, no, I want to do pediatrics. I think that fits me more as a person. It's where I want to go. And so fourth year, I just did a lot of electives in pediatrics and had fun and connected with people. I was like, all right, these are my people.
Yeah.
This is my tribe. This is the identity for me. Family, all the things are important. And I just love the practice of pediatrics and playing with the kids and everything.
Yeah.
So, went through the process of applying to residencies and wanted to stay at Coastal Children's Hospital. So that's where I did my residency. Got accepted there. Did that for 3 years, which is still part of the U of L program.
Mhm.
Coastal Children's Hospital then was, as is now, is owned by Norton
Mhm.
Healthcare System. Is now Norton Children's Hospital.
Mhm.
So a little confusing to the locals.
Yeah.
Did my program there. Loved it. Did a lot of moonlighting in the NICU,
Mhm.
a lot of moonlighting in the ER.
Mhm.
So I love those spaces and really struggle with considering going on doing another 3-year fellowship
Mhm.
in each of those. In ER, infectious diseases, and the ICU.
Mhm.
But my passion was to go and get out. I had a growing family. Second son was born in residency. We're like, no, we need to get on out and get on
Yeah.
with life.
Real life. Yeah.
Even though I love the learning, the
Yeah.
academic part.
Totally.
So, despite all the moonlight and all that, decided about the middle of the time, I thought, I think I'm going to start my own practice. So, I'd interview with some groups, and I looked at these practices, and I thought, maybe I just start one from scratch. So, spent my time doing research on that and decided to set up a practice in Oldham County, which was right next to Jefferson County, where we were living in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So it was where my wife was from. So I
Mm-hmm.
had the inside scoop that it was a great community to live and raise a family, great schools,
Mm-hmm.
and be close to Louisville, close to Children's Hospital, and there were very few pediatricians. So I'll try to shorten that. Quickly decided to start practice, spent the last year and a half of residency planning for that,
Mm-hmm.
bought a property, got its own commercial,
Mm-hmm.
built it all out, had staff set up, graduated July 1, and opened the practice on August 15th.
Awesome.
Now, opened that in partnership with Diane Weatherton and Ashley Collins. So we were classmates in medical school, then residency, and Diane and I opened, and then Ashley joined us a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Started with 0 patients, new office, scary.
Yeah.
So scared, thought, are people going to come? Will we be able to do this?
Yeah.
Well,
not
but
only
we
did
just
you
had
open
a
an
vision.
office, but you started a business too. That's got to be a little bit jarring.
Totally, which I didn't know how to do. I never had a single business class in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Only by watching my father start and grow his business and my brother start and grow his business of Honaker Aviation, did I at least have the basics. But I believed in it. I realized then I had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had a vision for making a place exactly the way we want it to be, a wow factor for families in the community and provide access and great care and be a place of choice. Those are kind of things that I hung my hat on in the beginning. It did us well. We, over the next 8 years I was in the practice, we grew it to 9 pediatricians.
Mm-hmm.
One of those was a part-time doctor, Dr. Stephanie Eakin, who's with us on this journey. So we got to reconnect after all those years, but she's a triple board doctor, as you know, and she spent 1 day a week with us as a general pediatrician, but helped us in the pediatric psychiatry space too. So we were very differentiated that we had a pediatric psychiatrist on our team. So with that being said, I did that for 8 years and loved it. Was growing a great brand and practice. We brought a new doctor in every year.
Yeah.
and I'll brag, and I'd like to say that no slight against the other graduates, but we brought in, I would say, one of the best graduates each year from the Coastal Children's Residency Program.
Cool.
And we had the luxury of a lot of those doing the private practice rotation with us. So we got to spend a month with them, see if we clicked, make a job offer.
Yeah.
Come in. They were naive to the practice of medicine, short of their training, and they got to come in, and we made sure they were a fit. They got to practice as we wanted, and we were all on the same page. And what was big about that was that we had a mindset that we're all about access. We're all about treating everybody like our friends and family. We had to be good fiscal stewards of the business, but we were also going to practice great evidence-based medicine.
Yeah.
And so we were all on the same page. You give antibiotics when you need them,
Yep.
and don't when you don't.
Yep.
So we were very aligned in so many ways. Our families were at the same stage of life. So you're kind of looking at life, family, money, business the same, which I think is very key in healthcare.
Yeah.
So started the practice, grew it, great success. While I was there, I got tapped on the shoulder to do a lot of leadership things just because I started that practice.
Yeah.
I don't think I had shown any special leadership skills, just you started a practice, so maybe you can help us with this. So the medical school, the children's hospital, the local hospital, Baptist Hospital Northeast, approached me just to be on some committees and things.
Yeah.
Before you know it, I was invited to, in 2007, I believe it was, to be to come in the leadership realm to be president of the Kentucky chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. So about 800 pediatricians in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
I got to get involved, and I'd become really passionate about child advocacy. Had a lot of students and residents from the medical school and residency programs with us, and so the training program back at U of L School of Medicine approached me to be an assistant residency program director. So I did that with Kim Boland, who is the current chair of the program. We'll have her in the studio here soon.
I was going to say, all these names are sounding familiar.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation. She's
Yeah.
going to talk to us about the training of pediatricians today, because I want parents to really understand, what the path is to become a pediatrician. What does it mean to be board certified, and all those things. So we'll look forward to having her on. But she and I go way back. John Roberts was our boss at that time. He was a residency program director. And Larry Cook was the chair of pediatrics. So with that being said, I had those different leadership roles. And then Baptist Northeast approached me to become chief medical officer of the little local hospital. I said, well, I can do it one day a week, but I can't do more than that. I still need to I got too much going on.
Yeah.
So, 8 years in practice, I was really at a crossroads of continuing heavy and clinical, or is leadership going to become a pathway somehow? I didn't know how, and I wasn't looking for that, to be honest. I always want people to know that wasn't my plan. Kind of came by serendipity. Well, then had a conversation with Dr. Rabelais, who's the chair of the Department of Pediatrics by that point, and in 2009, and asked if I'd had interest to come back to med school to be chief of the Division of General Pediatrics, which had about 50 pediatricians and a number of sites. And, they oversaw the general pediatrics and the training for the med school and worked at the children's hospital. At first, I said no, because I said, life's so great here. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and this is my path. Oldham came, and I can't imagine leaving my baby. Me and Diane had actually started.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine that. About 6 months later, I told my wife, I said, I think I'm interested to do something more. So I got back with him, and in 2009, I came onto their team, left the practice, came over to do that. So that was my first big transition. And also, I left that role of being part-time chief medical officer of the hospital.
Yeah.
So then I came over there in that role in 2009, and was loving that. A lot of projects going on, and then myself and Dr. Bertoloni became the clinical, what was the title of that? We were co-clinical operations leaders for the Department of Pediatrics with about 200 providers. So together, he and I helped oversee operations with the chair, Dr. Rabelais. So enjoyed that. Kind of the next piece of the story is the last year there, my 2.5 years, I was president of the medical staff at Children's Hospital. I'd already started as secretary when I was out in Oldham County, and went from secretary to vice president. And then by the time I was president of the medical staff in the maturation process. So I was in that role, working closely with the Norton and University of Louisville team. And Norton shared that they had a need for a physician executive to come on with burgeoning Norton Physician Services at that time. And they had about 300-plus providers at that time, and they wanted a full-time physician executive. And so I decided it was good for my career and something I wanted to do, to go into full-time leadership. Everything's kind of naturally going that way. And and I knew I'd still have a hand in pediatrics, but this was a bigger leadership role.
Yeah.
So for my sake, my family decided to leave the University of Louisville, and that was probably the hardest decision I've ever made my entire life.
Yeah.
I thought Oldham County was hard, but this was the hardest. I wasn't done doing everything I needed to do there, wanted to do, and I was leaving a career path that I loved and great mentors, and Dr. Rabelais had done a great favor in bringing me on. With that being said, though, I decided to go over to Norton, and that was in January 1, 2012, and I was there until May of last year in 21. So almost 10 years I was at Norton. And when I started, there were about 350 providers. I was the VP medical director for the Norton Medical Group. And then when I left, I was the chief medical administrative officer for the Norton Medical Group, which had about 1,750, 1,800 providers by the time I left. So a great experience while I was there. I got to get my MBA, be involved in a lot of leadership activities, heavy involvement with the Physician Leadership Academy, go through different leadership fellows programs with the academy and some other activities, and just great experience in leadership and understand how the whole healthcare system worked, even on a grander scale with the hospitals, the medical group, and around the country. And got to be involved in actually a whole lot more adult activities, opioid addiction, physician burnout, chronic disease management, diabetes, COPD, CHF, working with a specialist in recruitment, because I was over recruitment, contracting, compensation for the medical group, and at one time over operations for the women's, the children's, the adult primary care. So I played a lot of different roles. And in the end, it was myself and Dr. Flynn working together, reporting Dr. Hester, overseeing the medical group, which was a lot of fun. And I have to mention Ginger Fig prior to that, who she was there since the beginning of the medical group and was my mentor, and I was her right hand for a number of years before Dr. Flynn came to the group. So great mentors, great experience. All that leads up to then the leaving of Norton Healthcare to go start ParentMD. I had an itch for probably 2 or 3 years, and my colleagues knew it, my wife knew it, to leave the corporate setting and become a full-time entrepreneur. Knew when I was coming up on that age of 50, middle life identity was really hitting me. Call it a crisis, call it what you want. And I was really struggling. What am I going to do when I grow up? So, and you know, it's like, well, you better figure it out a little sooner than that. But I knew that I wanted to be independent entrepreneur, and I had this vision of ParentMD, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. I'll kind of close up this loop. It's sorry to be long-winded, but there's kind of key elements I think are key for the audience to understand why I'm here, why I don't see patients anymore.
Why, well, if they don't like it, they can skip through the resume.
They can fly through it.
Start at 16 minutes or something.
Exactly. That's a good point. They can. And some people have heard this a number of times, and they're probably tired of hearing it. But I think it's
good
key.
Context.
Yeah, it's key to understand why I believe so much in ParentMD and why it's here and why I'm confident it'll be a success and why I think it's such value to people and why I think it's so needed and why this is going to be so different than anything else out there. So with all that being said, decided to leave Norton to start 2 things: Honaker Health, which is an entity by which I consult, work with startups, part ownership in some different activities, and
I didn't realize how much entrepreneurship there is in healthcare until I was sort of entered this world, but it's all over the place.
It's all over the place.
So many cool things going on.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing about me.
People need that kind of like perspective.
They do. For me, it's exciting because there's so many different areas to keep learning. There's so many areas to serve. There's so many gaps and needs, so many business opportunities. And for me, so many interesting people to be around, learn, and different aspects of healthcare, whether it's revenue cycle, supply chain, clinical care at the bedside, hospital partnerships. It's just all over the place. And telehealth has become a big piece, which is a part of ParentMD. So pulling it all together through the years was a lot of fun. And then Honaker Health, I get to be in the space of work with people on strategic planning, business development, and bring a different perspective as an MD, MBA with experience in private practice, academics, and corporate world to maybe provide a different valued vantage point. So, you know, I had the vision of Honaker Health being that brand. I worked on different projects, but ParentMD was what I was passionate about starting. So I assume you want me to kind of say, well, why ParentMD? How did that come up to now?
How did you come up with ParentMD, and sort of how did you end up here today?
So ParentMD, it really goes way, 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 way back. With my vision with Oldham County Pediatrics, I just wanted to create a brand that had the wow factor for parents. Great access, great experience. I want everybody to feel like you had to be a Oldham County Pediatrics patient. I wanted parents to feel like we really were there as a partner. And as a young father, young businessman, I was just eager to serve, and I wanted to have something that, you know, delivered. And but I noted then all the barriers, the friction, the challenges parents have in raising children.
Yeah.
I saw the challenges my wife and I had in raising children despite being a pediatrician and life being great with plenty of resources and generally healthy children and a village around us to help.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's
And that's what we're
it
going
is
to talk.
really hard.
We're going to talk more about that and how ParentMD helps. So I think it's really hard. And you know that being a young mother
Yeah.
now. So access to care is always an issue. People needing more time than I could give them. Let me tell you that was probably the first thing that for me early in my career, leading up to where ParentMD, that really drove me, is I knew that parents never had enough time with me in the office.
Yeah.
Now they needed me. They need that medical home, and so know that I'm all about the medical home.
Yeah.
They need that relationship with their pediatrician, that team. That's critical. You have to have that. That's the base.
Yep.
But as we're going to talk about later, I think healthcare has really changed that people, because they can't get everything from their doctor, people want answers quicker. There are other resources on the internet. People do and will continue going to the internet to help as an adjunct, and I think actually is a good partner of the medical home. So to me, as you've seen visually me draw this on the whiteboard, I think to get quality access to care and really be holistic to meet the family's needs, there's two key partners in that equation. It's the medical home that's led by the pediatrician, and or medical home with family practice doctor, nurse practitioner, whoever is their core caregiver. But I think you put a plus sign, and then I think you have to say the internet, virtual care.
Yeah.
Well, when people see that, I want them thinking ParentMD.
Yeah.
So I think the pediatrician is your partner at the medical home, and my vision, this is boiling the ocean, is that ParentMD is your virtual healthcare partner. That when you think of the internet going there for resources, whether it's telehealth, education, or community, ParentMD is the partner that you can trust and go to.
Yeah.
And so the first drivers for that proposition is because of the lack of time I think people get with their provider. And the doctors want to spend more time. And parents need it. You can't say, all right, PFTs just show that you've got pulmonary function test, show that you've got asthma, take this inhaler, do this, we'll see you in a week. Parents like, I need and want more.
Wait. Yeah.
And the doctor's like, I want to tell you more, but I can't.
But I have 30 other patients I need to see this afternoon.
I got 3 rooms lined up, and the next one likely is a case. I'm told I'm going to call Child Protective Services.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really hard one.
Yeah.
Oh, and I got another one. Kid looks really ill. I'm going to have to skip that because something's not right in there.
Yeah.
And your mind as a pediatrician, you're always thinking, you're
like,
thinking,
how are you going to triage each one and get
you're thinking
get everybody what they
meningitis.
need?
Yeah, you're thinking worst case scenario. My job is to triage, and as a doctor, you have limited time. And parents all know that. So I feel like limited time, limited access, getting answers when you need it was a big barrier. We knew the internet was coming. That was hardly being used when I was in practice. So this shows that way back.
Yeah.
And I should note for the audience, I'm still a board-certified pediatrician. I'm still licensed in the state of Kentucky. I could start seeing patients tomorrow if I wanted to, but I haven't for a number of years because of the leadership roles, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Also should highlight, though, in that last piece of my story so people understand, though, when I was at Norton Healthcare the last 2 years, the University of Louisville Department of Pediatrics and Med School was brought into the Norton Children's Medical Group. So I got to be a part of all the employed pediatricians in the medical school, all the specialists and generalists I used to work with were enveloped. They were still U of L employees as professors, but then they came in as clinical employees with the Norton Children's Medical Group. So I got to work very heavy with them and had worked heavy with them for many years. So very involved, focused effort in that pediatric realm still. Heavy even before I came to this. I didn't totally walk away from that space. So I always got to have my finger on the pulse of what was going on and needed in children's healthcare and with those guys and those colleagues. But yeah, back to pediatrics, back to my practice. So seeing decreased time with the doctor, difficult in access, going other places for questions. Parents always struggle with, who do I trust? Well, you trust your pediatrician.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that, you got to do some work to see who you can trust.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of those is what made, and then ParentMD I always thought could be that one brand and platform that people go to that was trusted, and we'll talk about that more. But really, I talked to my colleague, Dr. Eakin, probably 3 years ago and said, hey, I've got this idea of building, and I didn't have the name ParentMD at that time. That credit goes that to Amy Harrison. But I said, what if I had one place that really focused, at that time it was on parent education.
Yeah.
I said, what if we got a bunch of doctors together and we just vetted everything that was out there and we created our own content to get them. And then we connected with doctors when they needed help to a subspecialist. They needed extra hand-holding, extra healthcare navigation support. But we be the doctors doing it. I said, I'm not seeing other doctors doing that because they're all busy working.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in a unique position.
Yeah.
She liked it. We got talking further, and that's really where ParentMD was born. Also, a conversation with family across the street from me, the Longs, Stacy and Perry. Stacy had identified she thought it'd be great to have like a conference or place she could go to get higher medical education for parents on children's healthcare topics.
Yeah.
Go listen to doctors during the day at a conference. She saw me going to conferences. She got, is there one for parents? I was like, let me find one. I looked and I couldn't find one.
Mm-hmm.
So, different parent groups around the country and children's hospitals have sessions on different topics, but I never saw one place that parents could go to that was led by pediatricians that have a plethora of topics.
Yeah.
So that kind of got some wheels turning. I'm like, wait, there might be a content partner need, and parents might want it. So spent the next year talking to colleagues, thinking about it, kind of drafting, journaling, started and then set up the company, and then ran into two partners, Kyle Dozema, Scott Diamond. I was thinking of another Kyle in my life, and a friend of mine. And they came on, liked it. They came on as investing, working partners with a lot of great business experience. And then we connected with you later from the marketing standpoint. And that's the team we have today.
Yeah.
It's you and myself and Kyle and Scott, and then also Erica Boland and Jeannie Sedgelon, who are pediatricians, who are mothers, who are some experts with us, and the rest of our clinical expert team, about 10 people. So we got a lot of people part of this family.
Yeah.
But those are the working elements. It's taken about 3 years to get here. We launched, obviously, in August of 2022, and now we're in December of 2022, so we're a little bit further in the journey. But that was kind of the background of how 3 years got started. In the last 3 years is a bit of a blur because it's been a constant refining of the brand, what we do, what parents need, what can we do.
Yeah.
We built out this studio. We built another studio upstairs for filming more content. And really just constantly asking people, what do people need and want?
Just like learning from parents, hey, this is
constant.
hard. And like, this is why. I can't put my finger on it, but here's my issue. What I found interesting was that, and where this really came to life for me was, Lewis was sick one night. Lewis is my 3-year-old, was sick one night. And I was terrified to put him to bed. And I called you and said, hey, I know that I just started here, and I know that, I don't want to like bother you, but I'm desperate. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Can I put him to bed if he's puking? And you were really honest with me, and you were like, it's a choking hazard. Lay him on his side or whatever the rule was, and just go check on him. And so I set my alarm, and I did it, and I was like, you know what? Josh said this is okay. I'm going to put him to bed. I know he needs to sleep. And I can only imagine that was just one instance for me, and I think there were several actually before we had the virtual pediatrician, and I could call somebody else.
Right.
But I know that you've done that for years for other people, and so like for me, it seems like to me, ParentMD is a way for you to sort of amplify that kind of service, like give people those options and that kind of resource, but not limited to just you, because you're one person and you can only help so many people, and you need a life. Like you need to go into the woods and take a hike, and not answer your phone all the time. Although I think you still do, but that's just who you are.
Well, I think that highlights a couple things. The reward of building things that can be scaled and serve to a lot more people. I would say one of the things that I lost with being at the bedside and in the office was the fact that I wasn't there, that one-on-one interaction, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I think I was pretty good at it. I enjoyed it. I loved being a general pediatrician, but I was really enamored and intrigued by the concept of doing things that could impact thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. And that's what really made me excited about leadership administration. That's what U of L taught me. That's what Norton taught me. That's what Baptist taught me. And then ParentMD taking it on another level, using the internet and using technology and having a brand that pulls everybody together on one platform. And that really excited me. I started thinking, well, maybe we can impact millions of lives, and be a trusted partner on that journey. So that piece is big. You also highlight something else I want to emphasize. For me, this is an extension of a passion of mine from way back that, I always encourage young folks I mentor, find not only what you're good at, what you're passionate, but what fills your cup.
Yeah.
Meaning what energizes you. There's a lot of things that I think I'm good at, that I have a passion for, but some things I'm good at, some things drain you.
Yeah.
But the things that really overfill your cup, they energize you, get excited more. For me, one of those has always been kind kind of hand-holding, healthcare navigation, directing people where they need to go. This morning I helped a couple colleagues in the community just get connected in the Norton healthcare world, and that was reassuring and rewarding for me, and reaffirming of what I like. But this, to do it for kids and to pull together what I've learned through the decades, is super rewarding, and it
Yeah.
just excites me. I could do it all day long, and so this gets to be a vehicle
Yeah.
for extending that passion of helping people navigate care, and hopefully learning all things I have learned through the years. Like, let's bring it all together. Let's bring all the nuggets of resources, one place that's trusted, and with people I've identified I can trust,
Yeah.
and I think parents can trust, and bring it one place and deliver it in an efficient manner. Now, we are still learning how to do that.
Totally.
We are early on this journey. We do not have it all figured out. We're not doing everything we want to in the future.
Oh, yeah.
The fun thing is we've created a brand and a platform to pull it all together with a great team
Mhm.
and a business model, and with a lot of great input from parents and pediatricians. Hence, we have our clinical advisory council, we have our parent advisory council, we
Yeah.
even have a business advisory council. Make sure we're good fiscal stewards
Yeah.
with the resources we have to go meet our vision to be a national brand that helps everybody get these resources and navigate care. So just need to add that little piece in. It's about
Yeah.
doing population on a bigger level,
Yeah.
impacting more people than just one at a time. But I have to give great accolades to all my colleagues who are in the practices and seeing those patients, because that's necessary in that medical home. Somebody's got to do that.
Yeah.
I just went down a different path, and hopefully see me practicing medicine a different way, and helping bigger populations. And then also the helping parents navigate
Hmm.
is a real passion of mine, and hopefully that comes out in ParentMD, just like we have one of the functions called the Resource Navigator.
Yep.
Well, right now I'm the Resource Navigator.
Mhm.
So if somebody reaches out, wants to learn more, help navigate their world, I want to help.
Yeah.
And we'll add nurses and other people around me when I can't do that on
Mhm.
top of what we're doing. So navigation will always be a key piece in resource assistance.
Yeah. And I think that's what's missing, and that's what's hard. Unless you know somebody like you, or I have a good friend who's a nurse practitioner, and so she
Yeah.
has a perspective where I feel comfortable enough calling either of you to say, hey, I need this, or hey, who would you put your kid under to get tubes?
Yep.
And you told me that, now that works for me here locally, but I would imagine that you could lead people in the right direction, and sometimes that's all that I need. I just need somebody to point
Mhm.
me in the direction instead of just sending me out the door. And not that that's intentional. That's just the way that the system is sort of set up right now.
Yeah.
And for me, that's really intimidating, because now I carry the weight as the mother to go do the research. And I know, like, I banned myself from Google because when Lewis was about 6 months, because
Yep.
I looked up something really common and he had a terminal illness, and I almost got him out of bed and took him to the ER. And then, logic set in, thank God. And I was able to just like relax, call somebody in the morning. But
Yep.
I can only imagine how many other people go through that. And I can't tell you how many people have told me like similar stories to that.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I would also add that for me, a big component to meet the needs of the scenario you just described.
Yeah.
And what pediatricians have to do, and I'd like to think ParentMD will do it on a bigger and technical level. The first piece is we have to listen.
Mhm.
So when a parent has a need, they need someone to share that with. And then they need someone on the other side who gets what they're saying and cares and has compassion. And I know our team does. And I've handpicked certain people I believe have a passion for
Yeah.
this mission, but they have a compassion for parents and kids. And, we talk a lot in our team about, this isn't just growing business. This is about growing something that can impact lives and
Yeah.
make a difference. And that feels great. And that's where we're striving. It's not about just building a brand. So, hopefully ParentMD will reflect that and what I did in private practice and what we're bringing together here. We first listen to the needs, provide compassion
Mhm.
as a partner, and then come along saying, all right, here's what we have, but honestly, here's what we don't have, but we can go get it.
Yep.
We don't have the answer, but we'll come alongside you and try to help find the answer. This is going to be a learning process. We have a lot of things right now, but we're going to have more resources for people. We're going to have more answers later. A lot of us, this is continue to listen. What do parents want and need?
Mhm.
I think we have a sense of it, but we don't have it figured out.
Oh, no.
And we never will, actually. We'll always be learning. But we're getting closer, I think. And that's part of this journey. And the pivoting, being willing to pivot, say, all right, they want this more than that. Or
Yeah.
this is how they want it, not that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, we weren't effective there.
Uh-huh.
you've seen of all people with being the marketing person,
Yeah.
this is such a journey. So, there's a strong people element I want to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong history and passion behind this. There's a strong technical and business element.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to think if we pull all those together, ParentMD is a brand and a partner that can be trusted. One stop. We do the homework for you. We solve all those problems, and we help you have a peace of mind and enhance the care and empower you as a parent to do all those things that you want to do and need to do.
Yeah.
And we come alongside your pediatrician do it. This is so, I have to highlight, this is so not to replace your pediatrician in the medical home.
Yeah.
This is to augment, be a partner. And I think there's a lot of pediatricians that question and wondering what this brand is, what's it about, where it's going. So I hope they hear this and understand and know me personally. This is about coming alongside and augmenting what they do and being a partner.
Yeah.
I want, for example, I'll give an anecdote. Let's say a doctor's in the room and they did just diagnose asthma, and they don't have time to talk about the pathophysiology, the current treatment guidelines, future management barriers, what's the future in research. They don't have time for all that. And not every pediatrician knows all those things.
I was going to say, it's my understanding that that's sort of that specific thing is sort of a specialty.
That is a specialty.
And you have to keep up on it. And pediatricians may or may not have the chance to do that.
And I would say most of them keep up on the bulk of it and do what they need to do. But imagine, to solve that, if I bring a specialist in, as we've done in asthma with Dr. Wes Sublett, nationally renowned pediatric pulmonology allergy specialist, bring him in to talk, and he talks about asthma on our toolkit. Well, he's a specialist living and breathing it, and we just packaged in video, technically, hour and a half or whatever, a bunch of 5-10 minute snippets that I think every parent needs to hear, and every pediatrician would probably love to share to their patients.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I don't have time, but I got to reach where you go, hit this link, and this doctor's going to be able to talk to you, and I trust him. It's quality, it's up to date, and he's also a fellow pediatrician.
Yes.
That's where my vision of the Toolkits came, is to create a vehicle that was good for parents and pediatricians.
Yeah.
To bring a little bit extra information that's easy.
Yeah. Those are going to be really fun to create, and just the ones that I've watched and sat in on, unbelievable information.
Yeah, I think we brought some of the country's top experts in these fields, and the funny thing is we're going to line up more, and a lot of these people want to come back. For the audience to know, we've created 16 different video courses now. 16 days we've had, not 16 days. Some of those days we've had two courses in a day put in, but we have others lined up and excited to do more. So that's the history of how we came to that and why we thought that was of value.
Yeah. So this sort of brings me to my next question, which makes perfect sense. Why is it so hard? Why is being a mother or a father so hard, especially when it comes to healthcare? Like, I feel this unbelievable burden from the minute that they, put Lewis on my chest. And of course, he spent a couple weeks in the NICU, so I felt it differently, but I think everybody feels it, and it's a common thing. And I follow all kinds of people on Instagram, but why is it so hard, and how has it not been figured out yet?
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll ever be figured out. I think it'll always be hard. Being the mother of a NICU graduate yourself, all of a sudden you had another level of hardness.
Yeah.
So that'll always be hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's a packed question. Multiple things come to mind. First, I think, is it harder today than it used to be? Some ways yes, some ways not. Think about the day before we had all these great healthcare resources and medicines and information and knew it was going on. Think how lost you were as a parent if your child had a problem 200 years ago and there was no fix. You didn't even know what it was, much less a fix, and you lived with it. Now, it's a different world, too. I feel like it was a more pure, unadulterated lifestyle where family and support and distractions were not the same, and so you just approach all of life differently. So even though it was probably the worst of times, you hear, in some ways it was probably the best of times, right? So to compare and contrast to our world today, we have a day where we can know more of our diagnoses. We have a lot of treatments, a lot of management, a lot of resources. Not only doctors have information, but parents have the information at the tip of their finger. Hence why I think ParentMD had to come in and play and be a virtual healthcare partner for parents and pediatricians in a way that we've maybe not seen it done before.
Yeah.
So that would kind of summarize where they're coming in, the why, being that liaison and advocate in that space, because the world has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
you've got all this access, but that brings its own new problems.
Mm-hmm.
Parents now, they have access to go unfettered, to go in an unlimited world to, you can go to WebMD and there's 1,000 articles on breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no one needs to read 1,000 articles. No one needs to look through them all to see which ones are good or not.
Or which one applies to me in my scenario.
You need someone that says, hey, this one's trusted, good
Mm-hmm.
resource. This will actually be practical. This is worth your time. By the way, I've read it. Just read pages 1 and 4.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So instead of you doing the homework, someone else needs to do the homework for you. So as you know, that's one of our big taglines is we do the homework for you.
Yeah.
Now, we can't do it all for you, but we're going to try to do as much as we can
Yes.
because of that problem. So we want to be that one site that's trusted because the internet has, although it's brought a lot of resources and solutions, it's created its own distractions and problems. And the world's overwhelming. Oh, we live in a world where everybody thinks they have to do and accomplish everything, and there are only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
But, there's not enough time to do everything everybody wants and thinks they need to. So time has become a really big issue. Peace of mind has become a big issue.
Oh, yeah.
Emotional exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
complexity. Healthcare has actually gotten way more complex, thankfully, with all the solutions, but it becomes more overwhelming. What are the solutions and who can help me in this? And where do I go for a second opinion? What are should I look further for other drug trials if this is going on my child has cancer? I mean, it's overwhelming. So, more opportunity requires more time and exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at today. Again, another thing I want ParentMD to be able to take some of that pressure off, to bring simplicity to the chaotic world, to bring peace of mind to an emotional exhaustion and just chaotic state. Can we ever totally remove the stress that you have when you see your child is sick? No, because that's from love, and and that doesn't go away until the kid's case is better, the problem's resolved, or they learn how to cope and deal with whatever grief or chronic disease they've got to live with or diagnosis. And that's where your heart always goes out to the most, is folks that don't have a fix.
Yeah.
They have to figure it out, cope, and live with it. Now, that brings me another one of the things I'm most excited about. I want to bring those families in the studio and have these conversations we're going to call parent journeys, because there are a lot of kids. It's very sad that, and adults too, that we can't fix all their healthcare problems, and we just can't right now. But you've got parents who've been down that journey, and they're still going down the journey.
Yeah.
It doesn't end for them, but they have learned where in the community to get support. They've learned what resources. They've learned some healthcare solutions. They've learned some information. They've learned some nuggets along the way that I think if we bring all that into the studio and share with other families, it'll maybe bring some peace of mind, answers, solutions, and help some families out.
Yeah.
So I think we can do that with our technology and this brand, bring stories in one place, share, and help be of value. So that's the community piece.
Yeah.
I want us as families to share. I want to get all those nuggets from those parents and the doctors to help other people. They're in stages where we're not going to have a one pill or a treatment that fixes it.
Yeah.
Families got to live with some of these things. And, my mind goes immediately to families with autism, children with developmental delay that's pretty intense, and or other mental health struggles. The list is long, and those aren't the top ones, and that doesn't not to take away from others.
Yeah.
But the list is long. It's overwhelming. And some families, your heart really goes out to them. It's a struggle, and they need all the help they can get. So we'll never remove all the problems. We'll never fix all the solutions. I'd like to think ParentMD could be that trusted partner on that journey.
Yeah. I think what excites me about being a part of it is that, I feel very fortunate that I have a 3-year-old who is, healthy right now, developmentally okay, just started preschool, going down a fairly quote unquote normal path, and it still feels overwhelming to me, and I can't even imagine what that feels like for any type of other complexity to be in there. But what excites me is that even for me with a quote normal healthy child, it's still challenging. And so if we could relieve even just that part of it, or help provide a resource for people in that area, that to me is gold, let alone people that have way more complex issues and challenges and lifestyles than we do.
Oh, totally. And the most challenging part of this is where do we start?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
where do we put our energy? There's so much
Yeah.
in children's health care, and we want to be as known as helping from essentially birth through college. I have 2 boys, Jordan and Tyler, who are 25 and 22.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about the teenage,
Yeah.
young adult life.
Mhm.
My wife, Michelle, and I have been on that journey with them, and they've been great, healthy kids, but it's a challenge in those years.
Yeah.
It's a challenge when they're young. It's a challenge when they're older. In the middle, there's a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't have challenges.
Yeah.
But there's so much, and it doesn't matter if it's wellness and preventive medicine or acute emergent care or chronic disease or mental behavioral or social adaptation or maturation challenges to become an adult that's functioning in the real world.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we're going to tackle all that in time,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to do as much of it as we can along the way that makes sense as we have capacity.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do, and I'd like to think we'll have something for everybody. But I would highlight there will be some areas I think we'll always focus. A lot of this started with a real passion around food allergies between me and Dr. Ruchi Gupta, world leader in pediatric food allergies, and in the mental health realm with Stephanie Eakin, who's a triple board doctor. They were my 2 first folks with a clinical advisory counselor, and they helped us with some of our initial content. So those will always be areas of passion. But I would also highlight that lately we've had a real focused conversation that since a lot of the pain points and need and desires of parents needing assistance is in that newborn period, we're going to spend a little bit extra time here, and we're going to get excited and attempt to create something called the baby survival kit, and just have it be something that's a must-have for every parent. Pull everything together that we think parents need.
There's not a manual, but this could be like a guide.
It's a guide with videos, handouts, recommendations on products and services, connection to support groups, again, we don't have to create all the education content. There's a lot of great stuff already out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great partners, and we want to connect them to telehealth. So essentially, here you take this kit home with you, and when you go home, you've got the bulk of what you need right here that we found.
Yeah.
And the thing, whatever we start with, we're going to keep adding.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
and that's the fun thing about ParentMD. It's going to be an evolving brand that keeps advancing and growing resources and value as we learn.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think it'll be really interesting to do a couple of rapid fire questions with you, because I think you're an interesting, quirky dude that I think people, respectfully, of course, that clearly people adore you, people that know you, and I think it'd be interesting for people to get to know you a little bit more. Okay?
Okay.
So, rapid fire.
All right.
I think I know the answer to most of these, but we'll see.
All right. Should I be scared?
No, I didn't put anything embarrassing in here.
All right.
Next time, maybe. Okay, Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coke.
Good. Okay. East Coast or West Coast? I figured this one would stump you.
Yeah, love California and the whole West world, but New England and the East Coast is cool too.
Yeah. What's your favorite book? You're a big reader, right?
Yeah. I'm currently reading a book called Conscious Capitalism. Favorite book, probably Margins. Margins was a book written by a Christian physician given to me by Rita Aders, my mother's first cousin when I was in med school, but I didn't read it till I got out in private practice a decade later. Most impact on my life with that book really highlighted that in your life, professional or not, you need to have margins and buffers in every aspect of your life. When I really read that, it was obvious, intuitive, but from a Christian perspective and life and just having done business and having kids at that time, I realized the value of needing to have buffers in my life. So where I have buffers, things are good. When I don't, things break.
I hear that. What's your favorite artist or song? Like, what do you listen to on the radio or in the car? Do you listen to music?
I do. Country music, the bulk of the time in the car.
Like old school country music, like Alan Jackson, George Strait?
More contemporary.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like it from 80s on up.
Yeah.
I like it all. 90s probably the most.
Same.
90s most, and then a lot of the contemporary stuff is awesome. So
Yeah.
I love country. But what I love to listen to the most, like when I travel or when I'm exercising, is just acoustic music.
Really?
So I go straight to guitar
So you listen to an acoustic guitar while you're on the treadmill.
I do. It's the oddest thing because most people, yeah, I've never told that to anybody.
Okay, well now everybody's gonna know.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when most people that exercise, they like to, listen that excites them.
Yeah.
To me, I'm doing it usually at the end of the day when I'm stressed and worn out. And to me, I enjoy the music. I'll go now. My wife will tell you I don't break much of a sweat, so I'm not. I'll get on the treadmill. She thinks I don't go fast enough. But when I'm walking or treadmill or lifting weights or whatever, I enjoy I like peace, relaxing music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No judgment there. Red or blue?
Oh, red.
I figured.
Yeah. And that's from being a hilltopper and a cardinal.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's the wrong answer, but that's okay.
I know.
Early riser or night owl?
Oh, early. Definitely not night owl, and becoming more of an early riser. It's funny, when I was in the corporate world, I set my alarm clock early every morning. It was one of the first things I was so excited to get rid of was the alarm clock. So for about a year, when I left the corporate world, I didn't set my alarm. I just slept till when I felt like getting up.
Really?
And then all of a sudden, probably 6 months ago, I was so excited, and I felt like I wasn't enough time of day, and it was getting busier. And I was like, I got to start setting my alarm to get up and do what I want to do. But it was a mindset of setting it because I wanted to get up and go do my own agenda selfishly.
Yep.
Excited about ParentMD, Honaker Health, other things. And now I'm just naturally turning this old dude who wakes up at 4 or 5 and like, all right, let's go. And
Open up Starbucks, right?
I get often to Starbucks in the morning, get there at 6 often. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. One of those
And then falling asleep at 9:30 at night too.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, I
put
tell you,
Lewis down at 8 or 8:30, and I'm in bed by 9.
10's a late night for me.
Same. What is the most favorite city that you visited?
Favorite city? Used to, I would have said it was San Francisco, but I haven't been there in years. I like San Diego. Neat little town I enjoy probably is Laguna. I think that's a great little place. Yeah, again, in California, I think it's so neat. I just like that whole California vibe.
Yeah, it's a different world out there.
Yeah, it is.
I like it.
San Francisco's not what it used to be, I'm told. I've been there for about 5 years, but
Yeah.
probably in little smaller places versus, well, and I don't know why I'm not mentioning, but Chicago's probably my favorite. We'll go there annually on a trip or business, and Chicago's probably the go-to for my wife and I. We enjoy the city. I enjoy the waterfront, enjoy everything bad. So Chicago's probably my favorite city.
Okay.
I don't know why I hesitate on that.
We'll book Chicago.
Yeah, there you go.
Sweet or salty snacks?
Sweet. I'm a chocolate fan. Anybody who's ever worked with me and anybody listening to this would laugh. It's all about chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely know the answer to this one because of how often you frequent Torchy's Tacos.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Trailer Park Taco.
Yep.
Pizza or tacos?
Oh, pizza. Pizza's my favorite food, probably.
What?
Oh, yeah.
You visit Torchy's as much as you do, and pizza is your choice.
Yeah, it's a quick, easy place to go get a good lunch. Pizza, I want to sit and enjoy for an hour or two.
I pick both. If I could have birthday dinner, I want both of them.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't go wrong.
I love good pizza, though.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. Well, hey, this has been really insightful. I think people are going to really enjoy hearing your story, sort of like how all this came to be, and just get a better idea of the person behind this whole brand and the whole platform. So there's a lot to come.
Well, I appreciate you being intentional and having us sit down and tell a story. And thanks for being patient with me being long-winded on my answers. I'm a talker. So for the audience, I told her, I said, make sure you cut me off. I'll get talking. I don't even pay attention. I've got insight, though. So appreciate that. Appreciate you being on the team and your role as Chief Marketing Officer. And, your perspective as a young person with a little one, and you and your husband raising Lewis, and then your passion being on the team is much appreciated. And I think you will be a key element in us bringing ParentMD to the world. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been super fun.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.